another. And first game of today is going to be played on Tundra. So Kyliudai, who is pretty much a Ra expert, almost you could say, he's playing Ra basically the most, and especially in RTS League he is a pretty potent Egyptian player that definitely helps his teammates in Absoluts to win the titles and whatnot. He is going to be playing a set, which is slightly different, but look at how we are playing actually without any wobbly balance patch and whatnot. Set is, well, I would say, I'm not going to say definitely, but is quite assuredly better. Well, definitely assuredly, well, whatever, is going to be better than Ra, because Set is pretty good with the early aggression and is kind of versatile as opposed to just Ra, who is kind of, well, needing the boom with him, and it's not really all that easy in 1v1s to make sure that that can happen. His opponent HellsRavage from Deities of Death, who is a full-fledged expert, especially with the Norse civilizations, but can play anything else as well, is going to be picking Oranos. As, yeah, it's kind of gutsy to play Norse, especially against Set because of the shifting sands and whatnot, and he's hoping that Oranos, who is pretty strong without the patch, is going to be the answer to what Kyliudai is going to be playing against him. Well, let's go then. So the pharaoh to lead the blue people is going to be Sheshong. That's a weird name, almost like an Asian one. Not really Egyptian, but doesn't really matter. As you can see, he's having a pretty decent amount of goats, and he has already cast vision at the bottom, so that he basically sees what's going to happen in the middle of the map and towards his opponent. So he knows that he is having quite nice aurochs, which means that that is quite probably going to be a spot where potential shifting sands shenanigans could be happening, or also in the middle, next to a very sweet hunting spot that is there just waiting for HellsRavage to take. Kyliudai himself is starting with aurochs also, having the 3 summer right in there. And I'm going to have a look. Oh, actually the match wasn't cast, so this is going to be the first live stream of this match. So I definitely hope that you'll enjoy what you're going to see, and I hope that as well, because I haven't seen the match either in the recorded game. Otherwise, the map seems to be kind of okay. This is reasonably defensible for him, so he should be quite guarded from the back from potential Turma Radiant, which is definitely going to come. And otherwise, pretty nice defense, considering the 3 lines in there. But in the forefront, how's it looking? Well, not bad either, because he is having gold protected by 2 towers basically. It's going to be quite hard to put Turma somewhere in here, especially since Kyliudai is already thinking about that and putting up the houses exactly to stop any kind of Radiant attempts like that. Bit of a scouting with the Wolfie that has already been converted by the priest, of course. And, well, to finish with the towers, this is not bad. Kinda natural protection in there with the stones. And the tower on the left, also not bad, protecting the B-line. And overall, it should be really easy for him to wall. Just potentially a problem could be here at the top. Well, not much. This straggler definitely helps, as this hunting spot is going to be very important for Kyliudai and seems to be reasonably okay. What he will definitely be happy about is the back TC, as that's as safe as it can be. So there's absolutely no raiding going to be happening, just a short wall in here. And that's pretty much it, because it's going to be very hard to get there through the right side, which is basically fully controlled by the blue player. And otherwise, a huge ton of hunt on the left, together with gold and a front TC for Kyliudai. So as soon as he discovers this part of the map, which he already did, because obviously, as I said, he has a pretty good scouting, he's going to be very happy about this position and might be aiming to control that sooner rather than later. We have seen that his opponent HellsRavage is already scouting in there as well. Yeah, he's definitely going to be happy about knowing what's going to happen in here, as that's going to be a hot spot for the times to come. And for himself, the map is so far kind of okay. Nice. Exactly noticing this pesky hyena, so that's definitely going to help with finishing the hunt in here and having a pretty nice hunting spot at the back as well, together with the town center that is placed basically the same as his opponent's ones. The front EC is not bad. It's similar to Kyliudai's, even though it's slightly farther into the map. It's not really all that bad, and it also covers a hunt together with the gold, so that's pretty much okay. And I don't expect any of the players to be really complaining all that much. What's noticeable about the map is that HellsRavage does have, well, kinda half safe back gold, or rather half back gold. It could be considered kinda backish. It should be reasonably easy to wall if he wants to. But at the same time, his opponent, as an Eggy, doesn't have anything like that. We see a bit of idols in here, unfortunately. Just waiting for the house. But his only goal is on the left, and the next one is just very, very far away on the right or in the middle, and that's literally unsafe. So he really needs to be careful about that. And well, he seems to be thinking that that's exactly what he needs to do as well. Right now, basically stealing hunt. This is not about converting animals for any kind of action. He's basically just wanting mainly to steal hunt from his opponent from some good spots and already moving in for the shifting sand. So he should be, as HellsRavage is halfway through, advancing into the next age also pretty soon. Okay, he's going to be slightly faster than his opponent. In the meantime, I'm going to check the relics. Better villager hit points. Sweet. For either of the players, especially the Atlantean, and better villager speed. That's absolutely great for Atlantean, and if we can capture that, that will definitely make up for the deficit in speed for the citizens. So shifting and shenanigans coming up. And noticing just at the nick of time. So good job, HellsRavage. And will he be finding once at the bottom? Maybe he could. There's nothing on the right, just the Oracle. Same as the Oracles in here. One of them is going to die. Painful death. And oh well. Careful about that. I was almost looking that he might be actually lost to the Pharaoh and the priest. And well, in the last moment, he actually noticed and it's going to be saving him exactly as he needed to. This is a bit of a problem and potentially threat for 15 cents. One is at least didn't, and second is not going to be used because Keliudai wants to take the biggest boom. So he wants basically to steal 2 villages and not just 1. And since it is the shifting cent is bound to amount of hit points, those 2 injured ones could be a pretty big problem, because if it came to worse and actually Keliudai managed to deal some extra damage, he might be stealing even more than 2, and that would be absolutely terrible for HellsRavage and very hard to get back from. So let's see if the blue player will be having luck, and maybe not. Maybe not, especially, oh, this is clever. With the towers just now being researched, this is a pretty huge problem because there's no running away, as this is just plucked, as opposed to the one on the left, and, well, the towers are a pretty big problem as they are going to be killing exactly those guys in here. So not sure what he's going to do right now, Keliudai, but what he did, and we have heard in here, he has actually captured the second TC in the forefront, and it was very important. Right now he's probably going to lose, oh yeah, shifting sands into Valored Murmilos, which is at least some kind of boon, but Keliudai definitely thought that he could get a bit more, and HellsRavage, I think, really made the most out of the tough situation and basically more or less nullified the shifting sands, as he was able to run away with the Murmilos, and even though they are halfway dead, he didn't lose any villages at all. And right now he's going to be also scouting his opponent in there. Yeah, he has seen those. He might be attempting a bit of raiding, but with the town center being finished, that's not really going to happen in here. Oh. Yep, that was kind of unlucky. He was trying to avoid that, but didn't. But at the same time, it's still pretty much okay, because he's able to force his opponent off this hunt, and that's a pretty big problem for the blue player if he cannot actually somehow his opponent back in place. He could be, because it should be easy with his barracks and whatnot to actually put up a position to just a few Murmilos like that. And so far, there are some extra armies coming in, but with a good protection from the budget, and without Valor being ready, it's still going to be a few seconds left before that is ready. It's still a pretty safe spot for the hunt, but Keliudai should be thinking about moving somewhere else. And there's just a few wolfies together with caribou, or elk, or what is it? Elk. Some orcs in here, and he still does have the hunt at the very back, which he's right now using, and also building armory. So he is slowly but surely hoping that he can advance into the heroic age sometime soon. Right now he is going into a bit of an offensive because he's not really under any kind of pressure. Right now, this is cleverly played by HellsRavage actually, because there's no army at back, and since he's right under the tower, there's not going to be any problem with those 2 guys getting rid of the tower if Keliudai isn't paying enough attention, and that might just very well be happening because he's under attack, or rather in the attack. And that means that these units are under attack, and also that means that the signal for being assaulted is of course going to be activated here, and it might mean that he might not actually realize that he's under attack at the top, but he did at the last moment, it has to be said, as the tower was almost down, and he's going to be forced to go somewhere else, go for a bit of scouting, and basically it's going to help him because he will know that there's absolutely nothing on the right and everything is happening for Kiludai on the left, and that's where he needs to go for his raiding. So still not any kind of losses for Kiludai, who is playing this very carefully and going for a steal of the front TC for HellsRavage, as HellsRavage is at the same time capturing his back TC and trying to make sure that he doesn't really get behind in the economy overall. So this seems reasonably safe. Let's have a look at economy upgrades with just pickaxe for Kiludai, whereas the red player is having also hand axe on top of that. So that's at least a bonus there. But is he attempting or rather thinking about advancing to the next stage? So far doesn't seem so, as he is building another counter barracks to have as strong army as he can, as he's also making sure that he can use as much hunt as he can on the right side of the map. Bit of an encounter in here, not really anything substantial, and with the wall already being quite nicely finished on the goal, it still should be targetable by the Turmas, but it's going to be pretty tough because of the tower, so I don't expect that red will be having any kind of luck with the Radiant at the top. Blue, in the meantime, is finishing with walling in here next to the town center from the right side and also from the bottom. There's still going to be a bit of opening. She knows about or not? Oh, he doesn't. He actually doesn't, and he might be thinking that it's all the way to the wall, so he needs to be careful and not really underestimate this, because if he did, there could potentially still be a way for HellsRavage to sneak inside his base, and that would be definitely pretty terrible for his gameplay overall. But so far, he's with 3 TCs against 2, and that means that he still has 1 extra behind his base, and well, same cannot be really said about HellsRavage, so quite tough moments. And if Kiludai can advance into the next age sometime soon, because it seems that his army is pretty much okay against what the HellsRavage is building, it might be in a pretty good way to maybe even the game, because he is controlling the map very nicely, and the situation is getting really problematic for his opponent. So the resources are getting there, almost 800 food, and on the gold department also pretty close for the heroics, so we will be expecting that in just a matter of moments, as the army is getting ready for HellsRavage. But yeah, with the TC fire in there, it's probably not going to be mattering all that much. That's definitely an encounter that blue doesn't want to take, but will be half forced to through the shockwave. But unfortunately, it seemed like the micro of the units of the red player didn't really do all that much, as they were just running around instead of dealing damage, and it's kind of a shame because they definitely could have killed more than that one poor spearman and maybe something extra, which I didn't really see, but I think it was just the one spearman in there. So good spam of units with Neftis going halfway in there, and for HellsRavage, you still don't see an upgrade, but the resources are there almost, just missing 100 gold, and he will be pretty good to go, even without any kind of relics. So I'm kind of curious why the relics aren't being captured for Kiludai, because they are pretty substantial. And well, this basically means the passive control approach by Kiludai, that HellsRavage is not interested in some big engagement and is going to be attacking the villagers inside Kiludai's base. So this is last moment build. Fortunately not finished, and that's a pretty big problem, because right now HellsRavage is going to force a lot of villies from the blue players somewhere else, and this is definitely not the spot for ancestors because of the amount of heroes in here. So we are going to be looking, maybe Kiludai uses this opportunity to go a bit more into the forefront with aggressive ancestors into the economy, which could be dealing a huge amount of damage, but he really needs to hurry up if he wants to do that, because HellsRavage is halfway into Thea, and once he does, the birdies might become a bit of a problem, as so far we don't really see all that many priests from the blue player. So army has caught up with the other army, of course. And well, pretty good attempts by Kiludai. So this wasn't just any kind of attempt to build some buildings, it was just basically obstructing the path of the red army so that he can dish as much extra damage, especially from the TC, as he can. That was a very nice little play, and yep, exactly. Exactly, Kiludai is going to be discovering that there is actually a way through, which he didn't know about. So, hoping that there's something else, and there's nothing, there's a hole. Surprise! Coming back, realizing that there's not going to be any army, and he needs to send some extra release in there to finish with the wall. In the meantime, this allowed the red player to raid a bit of gold villies. So yeah, this is exactly how not efficient scouting and not good scouting can actually hurt your game. This was exactly quite evident in here, as it allowed Kiludai to lose a few villages from HellsRavage's raiding, and well, HellsRavage definitely used the most out of that. Right now he will be scouted, Kiludai, that he is actually amassing army or other military buildings right on the doorstep of his opponent, and since the Migdal is here, well, he doesn't really need to worry all that much about what is happening, just amass as many units as he can, especially the siege towers, and that's going to be a pretty strong push with the Ancestors. Palace is already being built with pretty heavy defensive build-up from HellsRavage, but oh, can he actually finish in time? It's going to be close, but he will. So, yep, exactly on time, and that's at least a slowdown of what Kiludai is doing, but with a pretty big army and the siege towers coming in, you can fully expect the Ancestors coming into the play soon as well, and that's, yeah, going to be pretty tough for HellsRavage to do anything about, because if you have a look at this army, those Turmas are kinda halfway dead, which means even though some of them are heroic, it's going to be very easy for any kind of army from the blue player to deal with them. So, Infernal Emperor is going to be the MVP for as long as he lives, which is probably not going to be too long. Looking at the priest in here. Oh wow! Now you're going down right into the Cairo Ballista, ready to be trained in there. And well, since the palace is coming down, tower is not going to be really far away. Rather far behind that is going to be, well, a route open inside the base. Even though HellsRavage just jumped into the Mythical Age, as he's having also quite nicely cast Tartarian Gate, because it deleted a lot of houses in here. So that's going to temporarily housing Kiludai. You can see that he dropped to 115 with having 131 in units, and that's at least temporary help, but also a pretty important one, because it could allow HellsRavage to survive the Ancestors and maybe even recuperate fully. Let's see, Kiludai is having pretty strained echo, whereas HellsRavage is having a lot of resources, so it's kinda curious. Why isn't he having more units? That's weird. You even see that there's no auto queue in here, even though he does have the wood. He's probably not having enough military barracks, it seems, because yeah, these are the units, or the building that builds the units that he actually needs, the Murmilos and whatnot. But well, that is so far not happening, but he was at least able to defend his town center for the time being. Even at half health, but that may be just all that it takes for him to somehow stabilize. Don't forget that he's in the Mythical Age, so he could be getting a bit of an advantage in some units, like the Archive that he's right now dropping. But for the advantage to be pretty much full, he needs some extra upgrades, which he is not getting, whereas his opponent is still also without them, but with much stronger economy, because of the 3 town centers for much longer, whereas HellsRavage is just 2. Absolutely no way to get a third for himself. You can see that he's scouting in there in the back, but obviously that's not going to do absolutely anything, because there's no way that Kiludai will be allowing him to go there. So another attempt still basically continuing, as Kiludai was able to repel the opponent's army through the use of the chariots and whatnot. But he should probably get rid of the tower, because it is slightly annoying, and from the flank, from the right side, killing a few units, one at a time, but still, it is a bit of a nuisance. So military buildings down, which is basically the most important part of this assault. Because that will mean that HellsRavage will be having a very hard time building extra units. Because he still doesn't have extra military buildings. Just here on the right, he has rebuilt at pretty much a safe spot, and that's a pretty good idea, and something that is very needed for him, as he needs to pump units from somewhere else. He's right now housed at 2 TCs, unfortunately for him. He needs to pump units from somewhere safe, as otherwise he is under pretty heavy attack near the town center, and he needs to protect that at all costs. Looking at his opponent, who is also at housed position, yeah, almost 145, he is of course having the 50 population up above his opponent, and since you could be probably expecting him to research 45 TC sometime soon, it's going to be another 15 in there, and that's tough deal already for quite heavily tried HellsRavage's army. So far though, he's doing a pretty good job, especially with the help of the birdies. But looking at the rising amount of the priest in here, it's probably not going to be staying all that much longer, as the ability of HellsRavage to somehow micro off the priests and at the same time deal with the army with the Stinful Emperors is pretty low, especially with the pretty big range of the chariot archers. You can see the 20 range, whereas Archive having also 20, but yeah. HellsRavage needs some kind of advantage above that, and that's not really enough, especially with birdies having a range of just 15, which means that they are going to be very easily in the range of the priests with range of 19. So yet another attempt, as HellsRavage is doing a pretty good job of at least trying to stall his opponent through the military buildings right next to his home TC, but on the minimap, if you have a look at the top, Kiludai is taking the 4th TC, and once he does have the extra population limit, it's going to be making all that easier for him to push forward. So this is looking like a pretty strong push and pretty tough situation for the red player. Still probably don't see any military upgrades and wouldn't really be expecting all that much of them in this very pitched fight. But still, at least with the help of the villagers, which is pretty much a desperation moment already, he is able to repel the siege towers, but obviously it's not going to be long lasting, as without the villagers he cannot get the resources for the army, and without the army, yeah, that going. Switching into HellsRavage's point of view, unfortunately for himself, he is right now quite low on gold, even though he does have a lot of good citizens on the right side on the gold, quite a lot of them in here, with shaft mine already, so it should be a pretty decent income for him. It's still not enough, and unfortunately it doesn't seem like it's going to be getting any bigger or rather any better the game. What's actually on the right side? Okay, that's a hunt. Alright, definitely using all the resources available to him in this game. So yet another pretty strong push. But you can see the actual HellsRavage has been able to eliminate a pretty big amount of priests, as there are just 3 of them right about now, and that's exactly what he needed to do, but without enough melee units to reliably get rid of the siege towers, and at the same time with the villagers repair the town center. This situation is really tough, and the siege tower might be just enough actually put the town center out of commission altogether. Let's see, just one heroic willy and another heroic willy, or rather normal willy, with the Dryad going. Oh, that's unfortunate waypoint to nowhere. Fortunate waypoint to nowhere. That always sucks. But fortunately for HellsRavage, he's at least noticing at the last moment and redirecting them exactly to the fight where they need it, as they need to get rid of those pesky blue towers, which seem to be exactly the deal breakers in this fight. And well, going exactly in there, and well, right about now, HellsRavage is seeing that this game is not definitely going to be ending in his victory, and I have to agree, because there's literally no way that with 2 town centers being under heavy attack, he could be going against 4 TC Egi, basically boomed without any kind of problem, especially since HellsRavage is already in the mythical, which means that he doesn't have much elsewhere to go. Kiludai not really going into mythical, not even attempting that, looking at his economy, just quite happy to spam the units and overpower his opponent by brute force. Alright then, so 1-0 for Kiludai. Quite nicely played, and let's have a look at the post game, where Kiludai is winning total score economy and military, but losing on improvements and mythology. That might be because of the mythic and potentially some extra economy upgrades. Exactly sure about that, but yeah, the boom from Kiludai was pretty much okay, and once he was able to capture the town center at the very start, securing the super important gold next to the town center, well, from there on, it's always going to be tough for the opponent in red. It is similar advance times in here. And the research count also not really all that different. 14 for Kiludai, whereas HellsRavage 12. So where is he actually winning on improvements, HellsRavage? Is Mythical Age making that much of a difference? Well, it has to be, because otherwise on the research count he's losing. So that's pretty curious. Curious indeed. You know, the mystery of Age of Mythology, I guess. But in the military department, really, the numbers weren't all that different but the ability to spam faster for kill you die and kind of more efficient units for him, that's exactly what wanted. Well, GG.